All right, we're going to get right into it and talk about one of the most difficult, painful, and frankly, terrifying things a person can go through. We're talking about a specific theme of obsessive-compulsive disorder, or POCD. The fear and the shame that get tangled up in these thoughts are just completely isolating. They can make you feel like you are secretly a monster. So in this explainer, we're going to take that fear apart, piece by piece, with clinical facts, and hopefully give you a much clearer understanding of what's really going on.
This question, this is it, isn't it? This is the one that echoes in your mind day in and day out. It's a question that comes from this place of absolute terror, this gut-wrenching feeling that your own mind has turned on you, that you're secretly the one thing in the world you find the most repulsive. I need you to hear me on this. That question is the disorder talking. It is the very core of the OCD, not a reflection of your character.
So let's start with what might be the single most important thing you hear today. I want you to really let this sink in. The problem isn't the thought that pops into your head. The problem is that OCD makes you confuse a random, intrusive image with an actual, motivated desire. Your reaction, that's everything. The fact that these thoughts cause you so much distress, so much guilt, so much revulsion, that is the most powerful piece of evidence you have, that your values are exactly where they should be. Predators aren't tortured by their desires, they're excited by them. Your pain is your proof.
Okay, so now that we've established that, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's move from that emotional validation into the science of why this happens. To really get what's going on, we have to talk about a huge concept in psychology, and that's the difference between thoughts that are in sync with who you are and thoughts that feel like a violent assault on everything you stand for.
Just look at this table. It lays it all out. On the left, you've got what happens in OCD. These are called ego-dystonic thoughts. Think of dystonic as meaning out of tune. They feel alien, they're unwanted, they pop in out of nowhere, and they cause intense distress precisely because they go against your core values. And what do they make you do? They make you avoid things. Now look at the other side. Ego-syntonic. Syntonic means in tune. These are desires that are actually wanted by the person. They feel good, they align with what they want, and they lead them towards something, not away from it. You see? They are two completely different worlds. And here's the formal clinical definition. Ego-dystonic. And, giving it this medical term is so important. It takes your experience out of the realm of morality, of good people versus bad people, and it puts it exactly where it belongs, in the realm of psychology and neurology. This isn't a character flaw. You are not your thoughts. You are the person who is horrified by them. Okay, but what about the physical stuff? I know. For so many people, this is the most confusing, the most shameful part of this whole experience. You get a horrible thought, and then your body seems to react in a way that feels like arousal. It feels like a betrayal. So let's break down the biology of this because it is just a false alarm. Let me be absolutely 100% crystal clear on this. Any physical sensation you feel, a tingling, a twitch, a feeling of fullness, whatever it is not desire. I'm going to say that again. It is not desire. It is a well-documented, purely physical symptom of a massive spike in your anxiety. That's it. And there's even a clinical name for it. It's called arousal non-concordance. And guess what? It happens to everybody. It just means that our physical, genital responses don't always line up with what we're actually feeling or desiring emotionally. Sometimes even just intense fear can cause a physical reaction. Our bodies are just not perfect gauges of our inner worlds. In OCD, the trigger isn't desire. It's a huge jolt of adrenaline and anxiety. And what does that do? It sends blood flowing all over your body. It's a biological glitch, not a secret desire. So let's walk through exactly how this false alarm goes off. Here's the chain reaction. First, bam! The intrusive thought just appears out of nowhere. Second, because you're terrified of what it could mean, you immediately shine a mental spotlight down there. You're checking, right? Did I feel something? Was that a reaction? Third, this intense, fearful self-monitoring sends your anxiety through the absolute roof. Your brain is screaming, danger. And fourth, what happens when your brain hits the panic button? Your fight or flight system floods your body with blood to get you ready to run, and that includes blood flow to the groin. The sensation is caused by anxiety, period.
So, you've got this horrible thought and this super confusing physical sensation. So, of course, you're going to do something to try and feel safe, to get certainty, to prove to yourself you're not a monster. But here is the cruel, cruel trick of OCD. The very things you do to try and escape the doubt are the things that build the walls of the prison around you.
And maybe some of these are going to sound pretty familiar. There's checking, where you're constantly testing yourself for a reaction, which just sets off that false alarm we just talked about. There's avoidance, where your world just gets smaller and smaller as you stay away from parks or schools or even your own family. There's mental review, where you become a detective, digging through every memory you have, looking for evidence of your own guilt. And of course, reassurance seeking, constantly asking people if you're okay, which feels good for a second until the doubt comes rushing right back in.
And here's the bottom line. Every single time you do one of those compulsions, you are sending a loud and clear message to your brain. You're telling it, hey, that thought we just had, that was incredibly important and dangerous, and we have to do something about it right now. So yeah, you get a moment of relief, but you've just made the original thought even stronger, making it way more likely to come back.
Let's just visualize this whole vicious cycle. It all starts right here, with the obsession, that intrusive, unwanted thought. And that immediately triggers a huge wave of anxiety and distress.
And that anxiety feels so unbearable, so awful, that you have this overwhelming urge to do something, anything to make it go away. And that's the compulsion. The checking, the avoiding, all of it.
And for a split second, it feels like it works. You do the compulsion and you get this brief little hit of relief. The anxiety goes down and you feel safe again, but it never, ever lasts. Because this is the final, vicious step. That little moment of relief acts as a powerful reinforcement. It teaches your brain that the obsession was a real danger, and the compulsion was the right way to handle it. It strengthens the whole obsession, and it guarantees that the next time the cycle starts, it's going to be even more powerful. That's the trap.
So, knowing all this is so important, but how do you actually get out of the trap? Well, the really good news is that there's a highly effective evidence-based treatment that is specifically designed to break this cycle and to give you your life back.
It's called Exposure and Response Prevention, or ERP for short. And there's a reason it's called the gold standard. It works. It directly targets the engine of OCD, the compulsion, and it helps you systematically take apart that cycle of fear.
Now, this slide is so important because the idea of exposure for this theme can sound absolutely terrifying. So let's be very, very clear. ERP is not about learning to like your thoughts. It is absolutely 100% not about endangering yourself or anyone else. What ERP is learning to face feared situations while preventing the response. It's learning to allow the thoughts to just be there, like meaningless background noise, without doing the compulsions. It's about learning to live with uncertainty while choosing to live by your values, not by your fear.
And this right here is the biggest mental shift you can make. The goal of good treatment isn't to somehow magically stop your brain from ever having a weird thought again. That's impossible. Our brains are just too noisy. The goal is to change your relationship with the thoughts. It's to get to a place where a thought can pop in and you can just see it for what it is, a bit of OCD static, just noise. And then you can get back to doing what actually matters to you. You get your life back. So, let's bring all this home. We've looked at the clinical science, the biology of the false alarm, the trap of compulsions, and the real path to recovery. And it all really comes down to this one single empowering truth. Your brain is a thought-generating machine. It's going to produce thousands of random, weird, meaningless thoughts every single day. That's just its job. But you are not the static. You are not the noise. You are the one who gets to choose your actions. Who you really are is defined by your choices, by your values, and by what you do in the world. And every single action you've taken to avoid harm, to protect others, and to even watch this to seek help, that speaks volumes about your true character.
So I'll just leave you with this question. The disorder, the OCD, it wants you to believe that your thoughts are the most important thing about you. But what if that's a lie? What if you decided right now to judge yourself based on how you live, how you love, and the values you choose to act on every day? That shift in focus, that's the beginning of freedom. If any of this sounds like you, please know that there is specialized, effective help out there. You are not alone in this.